The truth is that the ultimate guarantor of the U.S.-Israel relationship is each of you. It is you, the American people, who from every corner of our country, in every possible demographic divider, definer, take the time to call on your elected leaders to stand with Israel. That's why your presence today, as it has been every year, is so important, and that is why what AIPAC does every day is so important. I want to say to you that as much as we have accomplished during the last 24 years in the U.S.-Israel relationship, I must admit that I leave the U.S. Senate with two big items of unfinished business. The first is that despite a great deal of work, Israel still has not been able to achieve the peace with its Palestinian neighbors that its people want and deserve, and that everyone in the Middle East would benefit from. But we're never going to stop working for that peace, and one day, with God's help, it will come. My second personal disappointment, and I feel it personally, is that the American embassy in Israel is still not where it belongs, in the city of Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish state of Israel. But neither you nor I will ever forget Jerusalem. And we will continue to fight for a day when the American flag flies proudly over an American embassy, and that day, too, I believe, will come soon. Today, the United States and Israel face a new and even greater danger as Iran marches toward a nuclear weapons capability. And that challenge is rightly the focus of this conference. Do not let anyone tell you that a nuclear-armed Iran is just Israel's problem. It is not. Do not let anyone tell you that you can learn, or we can learn, to live with a nuclear-armed Iran. We cannot. Do not let anyone tell you that the problem with Iran's nuclear program is what Israel may do about it and when. It is not. The problem is what Iran is doing with its nuclear program and when. The Iranian nuclear program is a threat to the entire world, but especially to the United States, Israel, and the Arab nations of the Middle East. If Iran is allowed to acquire a nuclear weapons capability, it will set off a cascade of nuclear proliferation as other countries in the region seek atomic arsenals of their own. If Iran is allowed to acquire a nuclear weapons capability, it will make its terrorist proxies, groups that already have the blood of thousands and thousands of Americans, Israelis, and Arabs on their hands, infinitely more dangerous. If Iran is allowed to acquire a nuclear weapons capability, it will be able to bring the global economy to its knees whenever it wants. If you think gas prices are high now in our country, imagine what will happen if Iran could back up its threat to close the Strait of Hormuz with a nuclear weapon. This is a future we cannot afford. It is a future we can and must prevent, and together we will. It is definitely within our power to stop Iran from achieving a nuclear weapons capability. The question is not whether we can stop them, but whether we will choose to stop them. And that is why, together with my colleagues, Senators Bob Casey, Lindsey Graham, and many others, I've introduced a nonpartisan resolution that says when it comes to Iran, all options must be on the table except one option, and that is containment. It won't work. That's precisely what President Obama has said. Now it's time for the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue to say the same thing. With your help this week, we will soon, and I ask you to bring this up when you visit Capitol Hill tomorrow, with your help, I'm confident we will soon have many more than a majority of members of the United States Senate, of all parties, supporting this resolution. Now, let me say that I do not believe that military action to disable Iran's nuclear project is unavoidable. That choice is Iran's. And so far, though economic sanctions applied have clearly affected the Iranian economy, the fact is that they haven't led the fanatics who today run that country to slow up their nuclear weapons program one iota. Now, we also have choices to make. If a nuclear-armed Iran is unacceptable, we all say it is, we must make clear to the world that we're prepared to do whatever is necessary to prevent the unacceptable. The President has said he doesn't bluff, and neither can we in Congress. Fact is that there is nothing, in my opinion, more harmful to our chances of stopping Iran peacefully than the suspicion that in the end we will give up and let them have nuclear weapons. The Iranian regime must hear a message from us, and we must state it loud and clear. Either you peacefully negotiate an end to your illicit nuclear activities, or they will be ended for you by military attack. It's time for us to make an ironclad pledge, which will be heard both by our friends and enemies in the Middle East and throughout the world. The United States will prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapons capability by peaceful means if we can, but with military force if we absolutely must.